Okay, so welcome back for part two. This is Imagining Creates Reality by Neville from 1968. And so I'm just going to continue. He basically speaks about how when you come back to yourself, which is in this case I am, and it's revealed to you that you are this state of the Father, you will recognize that you've played every part, every state in this world. And so you have to forgive everything. It's not something that you work your way to do it. It just sort of happens. You realize that you've been the thief, you've been the murderer, you've been the one being murdered. You played every state here because the I am is behind every state, whether it's good or bad. It doesn't really matter. Every state has been played by the same actor. And so you eventually will forgive it all because you're essentially forgiving yourself. And so you're the author. He says you're the author of the whole play and you're playing every part in the world. Now, he's saying that on a broader level, not on this realm, on this level here. We, again, as I said, that and I read in the Egyptian Book of the Dead that we're walking past each other without recognizing each other, that we're the same being. But on this level, on this level here, it feels that we're different. But on a different level, we're really the same being playing every single role here. And it's a drama that eventually when it ends, you'll see yourself as that being that is playing all the parts, not just this little, but on this level, it feels like you're this smaller being that you're just sort of walking through life. You don't know anything. You feel like everything's sort of hidden from you. You're trying to figure everything out, but you're only seen in part in the moment. But he says, while you're here and before you even recognize who you are, you can take upon this idea of imagining creates reality, and you can still rework yourself into a new self-concept, into a new idea of yourself while you're here. If you know that you're playing the parts, if you know that you are the I am that's in states, you can move from states that you want to be in. If you recognize yourself in a state, if you see it as something else, if you see it as a superstition, or you see it as some thing that is holding you back that you can't let go of, or you see that you put your faith in some cards or something outside of yourself, if you don't see it as a state, well, then you're going to remain stuck in it. But you are just in a state. If you have to see it as simple as that it's the I am, or the imagination finds itself in states in this world. And when someone comes to you, and so he gives an example that someone writes him a letter and they're sort of telling him what's going wrong. He goes, if I just put the thing down, the letter, and just like move on with my day, then nothing happens. I have to act upon it. And so the same can be said for us when we get a phone call or we get a text message. In our time, we don't really do letters anymore, but it's the same idea. Or you read something on Reddit, or you read some news, and you don't imagine it, you just leave it the way it is, then it remains that way. But he says it has to produce some type of motor element within you. So he gives examples of like picking up the phone and hearing a phone call, something that makes him move inside. You hear the good news, you're listening, you make it alive and active, and you participate in this imaginal activity. You don't just leave it alone. And many times we do that, right? It's no one's fault. We at times hear news and we think, well, nothing can be done, so I'm just not going to imagine anything. It doesn't matter. Or we'll think it doesn't matter. And so we live our life thinking that nothing we do matters. And let's say we don't believe imagining creates reality, then we're definitely not going to do anything. It's like when someone comes to you in a certain state of mind, giving them $20 isn't going to fix it. You have to imagine them out of it. That's really taking the action. That's what Neville says is true action, is imagining themselves in a different state. That's true action. Now, on this level, it feels like that's doing nothing. On a physical level, it feels like we've moved at nothing, because when I close my eyes, imagine a new state, or see someone else in a new state, the moment I open them, it feels like nothing has happened. No movement has taken place. But the real movement that has taken place is inside of ourselves. Again, I can give them $20, but what good is that? It'll go away. They'll ask for it tomorrow. What good is it if I give them a few dollars? It's not enough to really change. You know that if you've ever been around somebody who you love and they're in a state that you don't like, giving them money isn't going to change it. You want them in a different state of mind. You want yourself in a different state of mind. I'm not saying you don't need money or want money. You can have that. I'm saying that simply throwing objects or physical things at a person doesn't necessarily change them. You want them in a different state. And to do that is you have to assume that they're different. Assume it by imagining themselves telling you that they're different. See them differently. Actually accept this reality within you that's unseen. and then you've moved inside. You've actually made a movement in reality, because reality is taking place really inside of ourselves, not really on the outside of ourselves. As much as we want to think it is happening outside, it's actually all happening within ourselves. And actually, he quotes Douglas Fawcett again. He says, "The secret of imagining is the greatest of all problems, to the solution of which every mystic aspires. For supreme power, supreme wisdom, and supreme delight lie in the solution of this far-off mystery." So it's a mystery. I would say imagination is a mystery. And some people have said it's stupid, the idea of imagining creates reality. This sounds stupid. I do see it as a mystery, that if I imagine something, I've had this happen to where it happens identical to what I imagined. I don't know how it works. I just know it does. It feels like a mystery to me. It also feels quite stupid sometimes, that the idea that I have to, even though I have no idea how this could happen, someone tells me they want to be married, I have to imagine them being married. It sounds stupid, but that's exactly what you would do. And when you take it back and you go, if you remember your childhood, you remember you did this to a level. You were imagining yourself without a condition. You'll see children playing doctor. You'll see children playing the chef. You'll see them just playing really without any conditions in their minds. They have maybe they don't have obviously the credentials yet, but they have no problem putting themselves in that position at all. They don't doubt themselves. And so we all have some level where we've done this before. We remember it on some level, but it is a mystery. I don't try to figure this out. I just know that it works in practice if I accept it. Really just accept it without any kind of reasoning attached to it or logic. I don't wonder how they're going to get married. I just imagine them being married. Even though it might go against all my odds and what I know, it's not really about what I know. It's not really about my little ideas. I go beyond my own reason. I go beyond my own logic of what I know, and I imagine it. If I see it, I hear it, well then how can I deny it? If I go within myself and I hear the person tell me the good news that they just told me bad news, but I hear them tell me good news, and I accept it, then I believe it will come to pass. I do. Now, I don't know how. I don't figure that out. I don't know when. I just partake and participate in what I'm imagining, and that produces within me a change. And so I move them from one state to another state. And I do the same for myself. And then he goes on again to explain how he seems to really be against media. Neville seems to, maybe I should say, let me say that again. He's not against media. It seems that he's against how our system uses media. And he goes on to say how, you have to produce some type of fear in the title, or you have to produce some type of worry in the person for them to buy the paper. They won't buy it. If it says, oh, everything's all wonderful and dandy and everything's roses, then they're not going to buy the paper. They're just going to move on like it's, why would you pick that up? You just need to read it and that's it. But if you can invoke in the person some type of anger, some type of fear, some type of worry, well, then they're going to start reading the paper. They're going to wonder why. Why should they, if they should remain in that state of mind, or how they should act upon that fear. And he goes, yeah, they're always trying to scare you to attract your attention. And he goes, if tomorrow you read a headline, you'll read a headline that someone's dead or someone's murdered, and then you just, it causes reactions within you and you start to act upon it. But if you read that things are all right, you're just going to go blind. You're going to be blind to the news if it always was wonderful, right? But if they have to grab your attention, they're going to want to spark fear within you. They're going to tell you about the horrors of everything that's happening. Even if they're lies, it doesn't really matter. They're going to tell you just so you can become afraid inside. But if you know imagining creates reality, you don't have to become worried. He said this in, I think it was the first lecture of this playlist. You can listen to that. And he also speaks about how these horrors that they tell us and these ideas that the media is telling us, it can put you in a really stupid state. So many stupid states exist here. And he actually says that, stupid negative states. And they exist, but try to imagine people out of that. And imagine yourself out of it. You don't need to force anyone to be different. Just imagine them differently. See them differently. And you might say within yourself, well, that's impossible, but just do it. Go beyond what you think is impossible. Go beyond what you think is possible. Go beyond your own reason for a little bit. Try to live above your reason. Try to live on a different plane of vision. I understand. I remember I used to feel afraid to let go of my reasoning until I realized I'm never letting go of it. I'm just simply moving above it. I always saw it as if I started to see life from this angle where things are fulfilled, I would become afraid that I would lose my reasoning. And yet I didn't lose it at all. I just simply am starting to live life and see life from a perspective that is unseen. And I accept what is unseen. But what is unseen contradicts my reason and my logic. It contradicts it. I don't know how, but I see it done. I hear it done. Well, I don't question anymore. I just accept it now. And so you don't really ever lose your reasoning. You just simply aren't listening to it as much anymore. You're simply accepting something else in its place. You don't really lose it. But I'm going to end that one here. This is part 2. And again, I wanted to let everybody know I'm going live this December 6th, this Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's for the members. So if you want to, if you're interested in that, just go to the description. You'll see it there on what to do. But again, thank you guys for listening.